Okay, tell me your name and what you do.
Okay, my name is Kim Woodward. I have a DIY channel called Mama Can Build It, and I have 8 kids like Julie, and I'm studying to be a therapist as well. So I do a little bit of everything.
Okay, so she's like this DIY queen. What got you into it? Why do you do it? What's the point?
Okay, so I do DIY basically because I'm cheap and I don't like to pay for anything that I think I can have a good go of myself. I'm really quite obnoxious like that. I will give anything a try to save money. We grew up with nothing, so we learned how to make things, we learned how to do things. I learned how to do things. And so, when you're in that environment, you realize that you're either going to do it yourself or it's not going to get done. And I don't like to wait for anything. And that's for people to do something or pay for something that I don't have the money to pay for. So I just think, why not give it a go?
So what are some of the things that you've done?
I have done so many projects around the house. We have saved so much money in doing our landscape and our garden ourselves, but lots of board and batten, lots of wall treatments, lots of made a bed for the kids. This Jew pottery barn bed for my son that I really wanted, built-in bookcases, furniture, built this, which the kids love. And so, I just love creating things and I love to be able to customize it to exactly what I want it to be and save so much money doing it in the process.
How much money have you saved, do you think?
We've lived in this house 2 years. It was build a grade model when we bought it, and I'd say with all the quotes that we had come in, probably about $200,000
Oh my gosh.
we have saved, and that includes landscape in the yard as well.
So you fully believe in if it is to be, it's up to me.
Absolutely. Because no one else is going to do it. My husband he's not a DIY. He doesn't like to do it, and that's fine. That's okay. And so I just don't want to wait for anyone to do it. And so that's how I started doing it. I just thought, you know what? I think I could give it a go. If I see something that I like, I can give it a go. I'll give it a good try. And I'm totally okay with making mistakes as well. That's really important, I think, because you're going to make lots of mistakes. Be okay making mistakes.
I was going to say, how did you know how to do it? Where did you start? Like, how did you know what tools to buy and how do you do it?
I think you start small. You'll see something that you like, maybe a little wall treatment of board and batten or wainscoting or some wall paneling, and you can there's lots of videos on YouTube and on Instagram, to learn how to do these things. And you start off with very basic tools and you just build your tools up the more adventurous you get with the projects that you're going to do. You don't need all the tools in the beginning, you just need a few core tools, and then you can just start creating things. And I love it.
And what's your favorite part about it?
For me, I love saving money. That's probably one of my favorite parts. I love the creative part of it because I'm not naturally a creative person, so I can see things and I can replicate it, but I don't just come up with it in my head. So I can definitely see things and replicate, and I love the fact that I can stand there at the end of it and go, I built that. It's so empowering to go, I built that. Not only did I build it to exactly how I want it to look, to the size that I want it to be, but I saved so much money in the process. And I share it on Instagram because I want to empower women to know that they can do it too. Because I was like, before I started it, I didn't know anything about tools. And if I can do it, I really believe anyone can do it. And I think some people enjoy it, some people don't, but I'm really passionate about it. And I just think we can make our home so beautiful and exactly what we want it to be.
Yeah, because when she came and helped me with my bathroom, she was like, go ahead, give it a go. And I was like, give it. And so it was this empowering feeling, being able to pull that miter saw. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
I even know the name.
The nail gun.
Pulling it down in the nail gun, yes. And it was empowering.
And was it scary?
Yeah, at first I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going
to... But did you do it?
Yeah, I did it.
And you did, and that's exactly what it is. So many people are scared of the tools beforehand, but as soon as you do it a few times, you just get empowered, and it's like, this is awesome.
And so you want to empower women to pick up the power tools.
I do. I want them to give it a go. I'm impatient. You don't need to wait for anyone. You don't need to wait for anyone to do it for you. You can do it yourself.
Tell me your analogy on grit and pearls.
Okay. So I'm studying to be a therapist right now, and something that really stood out to me in my study last week is how pearls are formed. And I just love this idea. A pearl is formed when an irritant gets underneath the shell of the oyster or the clam. And once it gets in there, the shell creates a barrier in order to protect itself from this irritant. And even if it's a little bit of grit, a little bit of sand, and it actually, that ends up being the pearl that it makes. And it makes the pearl from the irritant getting into it. And I just think so often in our lives, when we have these irritants that get under our skin and really drive us crazy, what are we turning them into? Are we turning them into pearls, or are we turning them into something that just eats us from the inside out? And I think sometimes it's a choice that we can make, what we're going to choose it to be. And it's really hard at times, but I think we can choose to make it something beautiful instead of something, awful within our lives.
Yeah, because we take this, something it's like the pebble in your shoe that can bug you forever and ever and ever. But when you take something that's irritating or annoying and you kind of flip it and change your perspective, it can actually, I don't know, how do I turn a pebble in your shoe into something positive?
But when our kids were little, when we used to go to the beach, we'd always have them collect the roundest, softest pebble that they could find, because that pebble wasn't ever always like that. It used to be quite had lots of rough edges on it.
Yeah.
But the constant bashing of the ocean against it has made it soft and round and smooth and just nice to hold.
Yeah.
And we used to always tell our kids, these round pebbles didn't get this way just from being there and taking all of this pounding day after day. They took it and it made them into something.
Yeah.
And sometimes our lives can be like that. We're just getting pounded by these waves, but are we letting them change as creators into something new, or are we battling against it and just hitting ourselves in the process and causing more pain? And it's really difficult, but I think we can do that.
Yeah, it's like the pounding of the water, the irritability of the sand or the barrier that's bugging the oyster, and the pounding of whatever is happening in our lives is what actually smooths us out, balances us, and gives us the resiliency and the grit to change
of what we need to be.
Yeah.